In this video, I'm going to review Cyclops Cove 2. This festival takes place at Sunset Cove Amphitheater in Boca Raton, Florida, on December 10th and 11th, 2022. This was the second year that this festival took place at Sunset Cove Amphitheater in Boca Raton, Florida. Many of you may know this location as it was the prior location of Forbidden Kingdom, another Insomniac festival that primarily caters to bass music. I did not make it to the first year of Cyclops Cove because I was still in school and could not afford to take the time off. When it was announced that this year was taking place, I could not pass it up, especially since the first day was on my birthday. Let's talk about price. I paid $120 plus $25 for service fees for this ticket, and I bought both mine and my partner's ticket. So for a little under $300, I got 2 general admission tickets to this festival, which in my opinion for 2 days was actually not that bad, considering I paid $220 for EDC Orlando in November. Also, I bought my tickets flat out. I didn't do a layaway plan, and I'm not sure if there was a layaway plan for this. If there was, comment down below and let me know how that process and everything went for y'all. Alright, let's talk about the map/layout of the festival. From what I heard from talking to many people that went last year, they said that this year's was a lot better. Last year's was one day, and there was only one stage. And the stage was the Cyclops main stage, but the addition of the takeover stage and the producers' corners was well welcomed. I highly recommend catching a sunset set by one of the stages during either of the days if they host this festival again next year. It is such a gorgeous view, and you will not be disappointed. Moving on, let's talk about amenities. I'm going to start with food and drink. So, the food options at this festival were definitely different from other food options I've seen at other festivals this year. Now, not to say there wasn't the typical festival foods, but they had some like fancy pizza places. They had a guac cart. They had acai bowls. They had and then they had the typical chicken fingers and fries and stuff like that. They also had just like regular burgers and hot dogs. Island noodles was another one that was there. I definitely got one of those on the first day. And then, the only thing that I think that they could have done a little bit more was sometimes I eat vegetarian, sometimes I eat some, no meat at all. So like there was no like stuff like that from what I noticed. So if you are trying to follow a more stricter diet or dietary guidelines, like it might be a little bit different or hard for you to get certain types of food there, because I think the only thing I noticed that was like strictly vegetarian would have to say either the guac or the acai truck that was there. For drinks were pretty standard across the board. It was either hard liquor or beer. They also had soda options and water available, as well as energy drinks. I did notice that on the right side of Cyclops stage, kind of where you'd go in by VIP, that there was a vendor that was selling daiquiris in the forms of yardsticks. So they also had those, which was something I've not really seen at a festival, and I'm glad it really wasn't a summertime festival for this, and the weather was a little bit colder outside, because like that amount of sugar in that will fuck your body up. Along with drinks, I'm going to talk about the water stations. So originally there was only one on the map. It was supposed to be off to the right-hand side of Cyclops main stage. We got into the festival. Every time I sent my boyfriend over to go get water, the first hour while I was standing in line to get merch, he was just like, the line is like super long. He's like, is there not another water station? And I was like, no, there's only one on the map. Come to find out, there's literally one right by the producer's corner that wasn't listed on the map, nor was anyone told about this on the map. So I think that created a little bit of confusion the first day. Also, like, there was only like one stall there, so like 4 spigots per water station, and the water was trickling out most of the time. Like, it really wasn't that cold of water either. That was another thing. Like, I know Insomniac has like the capacity to provide the other ones, because I mean I've seen them do it for EDC Las Vegas, EDC Orlando, so like that was a little disappointing to see that, and how long it took to get water. Like the first day was just like insane. So another amenity to talk about is the producer's corner. At first I didn't know what this area was going to be like. When I first got there, I think I missed Jesse's set, and I think I missed Dirt Monkey's set inside the producer's corner. But I tried to go and pop in there when I could. But this was basically for artists to basically talk about like hey, like, this is how to do music production, this is how I do my style of stuff, this is how I would build a song. And you got to ask questions and they got to answer your questions. It was really cool. It was over by the takeover stage underneath the little shaded pavilion area. So that was something I've never seen at a festival, and I felt like that was really cool of them to even do. The fact that they had it going the entire weekend for people just to come up and sit and ask questions of their favorite artist was mind-blowing. Like, just mind-blowing. The fact that they didn't charge you extra to put that on was amazing. Like, they really care about this community of people. They also had the gaming corner. There was about 6 TVs off in the middle of like the food vendors area of main stage that had different gaming stations that you could just sit down and play games. One way was facing the lake, so you could just watch the lasers shoot out over the lake at night, and that was pretty cool. And then the other ways was facing the main stage, so you could sit there and literally play Smash Brothers while you're watching Jesse throw down on on the decks. They had hammocks around main stage that you could just chill in. I definitely took full advantage of that when I needed a break from dancing. Always take breaks when you need to. Don't forget, you don't always have to be up doing stuff. Sometimes it's fun to just chill and vibe. That being said, too, there was also benches and tables around the main stage and takeover stage, because this is an amphitheater area, so they naturally had those already built in for people to use. Definitely was better than sitting on the grass sometimes, because some areas were wet, some areas were not dry. The vendors village, there was a bunch of amazing vendors at this festival, from Candy's World to Day Tripper to Sweet Kendama. There's just a lot of different cool stuff here that really catered to bass music and the type of community that this music brings together. That being said, like, I always check out the pins and other things. I definitely grabbed a couple while I was there. Got my Cyclops pin. Oh, Candy's World was also doing free body marbling all weekend, as well as other body art. So if you got to take advantage of that, that was pretty dope, because, you know, they usually charge for that type of thing. Let's talk about the stages. The takeover stage, which was the stage that hosted all the supporting acts of the festival, which I never really thought that I was going to be at the stage a whole lot. Like, I thought I was just going to be at main stage. Like, I didn't know a single person on this lineup, like, except for Subdocta. Like, that was the only person I knew on this lineup. So, like, obviously I was going to check it out while I was there, because I wasn't just going to stay at main stage and be a main stage snob the entire time. Also, I had to film content, so I was filming my vlogs the entire weekend, which I loved it. I loved the takeover stage. It was a lot of drum and bass for both days. And just really just awesome, just different wobbly, wonky beats. Artists were great. Like, I caught myself hanging out there a fair amount of time, too, like, bouncing back and forth. So it was definitely a lot of fun. My only issue with this stage was it had the producer's corner right next to it, and I'll talk about that more later on when I get to improvements for this festival. Another thing that was great about this stage was restrooms were literally right behind it. So, like, if you had to leave the stage to go to the bathroom, like, you could get your spot back pretty freaking easily. Another thing was there was 2 food trucks and a drink truck literally right next to it. So, like, if you were hungry, you didn't have to leave far to go get food or a drink either. Same for the water station, because it was right next to the producer's corner. Like, everything was just right there and super convenient. Like, the foot traffic of this festival was minimal. I went to EDC Las Vegas and I walked for days. 4 days. All right, obviously the main stage was a favorite. It is the amphitheater of Sunset Cove. So basically what they do for it is they just add the screens and the panels on the inside, and then they put the giant Cyclops over the top, which was honestly my favorite part about shooting content for this vlogs, was just seeing that tentacle reach over and the fog just creep over it, and then the eye being lit up under black light. Like, yeah, dope. Another thing I really enjoyed about this stage was it never really felt crowded. Like, I could be as comfortable as I wanted to. Like, I could get in deep if I wanted to. I could go pull back and sit down. Like, there was an actual walking path that walked along the outskirts of the path for the amphitheater, and it literally trailed next to the food vendors, so you could sit on the edges of that and you weren't even sitting on the grass. Like, it was just very gorgeous. Like, every spot that I stood in that amphitheater was a great view. Like, you never did not have a great view. Even from sitting in the hammocks watching the stage go on, just, it looked so cool to watch the lasers shoot through the little trees that were right there, and just seeing the Cyclops at the top. Like, it was just awesome. All right, vibes. The vibes were on point for this festival. It was basically, like, in my opinion, I've never been to these festivals, but from what other people talk about these festivals, I would assume that it's basically like a mini Lost Land / like a mini like Halloween. The community is just very niche. Everyone really like enjoys bass music. They really enjoy Subtronics and all the supporting acts. I never once found any rude people while I was there. People were genuinely happy to be there and to be just being themselves. There was no shoving. There was no aggressiveness. Everyone that saw my backpack wished me a happy birthday. It was just a great time. I did, however, see a couple people arguing with each other about like just, typical Wook stuff. So, not that the festival's not at fault for that, but also like I didn't hear anything bad about this festival. Like, I didn't hear no one stealing phones. I didn't hear about anyone overdosing, or people just being like fucked up that they couldn't fucking enjoy their time. Like, none of that. Okay, so definitely some pros about this festival. Small layout, like easy footwork getting back and forth between the stages. I never felt like I lost my friends or anyone that I was there with. The price point for the ticket was also very comparable to other festivals. I think it's awesome that VIP gets early access to merch, which is something I've never heard of before, for just purchasing a ticket. It's a beautiful location, South Florida, Boca Raton. Like, there's 20 minutes from South Beach in Fort Lauderdale. Like, you're about an hour and a half, if that, an hour from Miami. Like, there's tons of things if you just want to make a weekend out of it that you could like just go and do. Plus, all the after parties and pre-parties that they had for this event was just like insane. Producer's Corner, I definitely feel like that was a highlight for anyone that really was into music production and wants to be more serious about becoming an artist. My boyfriend is a techno house snob. His words, not mine. And he just thought it was the most amazing thing ever, especially being that he doesn't really enjoy a whole lot of bass music, and he still had a great time. Plus the lineup of bass music is just great. Like, that's what we're here for. Like, we came to hear some just nasty, gnarly bass. I do want to talk about some improvements for this festival. Security is also always going to be a thing. I think security just needs to become standardized at Insomniac. They need to stop doing this just by people on occasion to be security or whatever they are, because they're not cutting it, dude. When I went in the first day, the girl who checked my ID literally took my ID, handed it back to me, handed me a wristband, and said, "You can put it on yourself," before she was verbally told by another superior that she needed to be putting them on people. Moving on to the girl that was supposed to do the pat downs, was not a pat down. It was a wand that she literally moved in front of my crotch, and that was it. Like, didn't wand my body or nothing, just literally my crotch area only. At EDC Orlando, it's a pat down. In Las Vegas, you walk through a metal detector. Where's the consistency, Insomniac? Like, just come on. Like, the way things are happening in this world today, it's very scary what people might do at a festival, and God forbid, like, we just don't want that to happen. The lines for water on day 1 were just a little bit longer than lines on day 2. I definitely feel like they need to add like another water station to each stage just to make it a little bit better. Like, maybe main stage mostly, but like definitely add water stations, just to curb that. Also, like, notify your people that you split up the water stations on something online. Like, people had social media. Like, there's a way to like contact people and like, hey, like, we made little changes to the map. Like, we have to do this, like, acknowledge it to the guests so the guests just aren't blindsided when they come in. Another improvement that I would say that they could make for next year was to move the producer's corner away from the takeover stage. I feel like that really hindered the conversations that were happening, and made it just a little bit more difficult for people to really communicate and hear each other and grasp everything to the fullest, because you do have people just throwing down nasty sets right next to you, like literally less than 50 feet away. So like, I feel like moving that would just give it a little bit more personalization to this section of the festival y'all are curating. That being said, also move the merch booth, the main merch booth. As soon as you turn left to go into the that area of the festival, the first day for 3 or 4 hours, there was just people lined up all the way across like the thing, which blocked the area that you had to walk through to going through to the takeover stage. So like the end of the line ended by where Candy's World's like marbling thing was going down at. So, you know, just like logistic wise, like certain things just didn't make sense. I feel like, I know that they have like a certain area that they're allowed to like use and whatnot, but like I felt like it could have just been reworked. I hope they redo it next year and just kind of like move that blocking that was going on, because that just, it didn't feel safe. Like I said, if something was to happen, like you got a bunch of people just standing in the middle of like an exit way, that the exit's literally right there. And then the biggest thing that I want to talk about on day one, because it didn't really happen to me too much on day two, but it's happened to me at prior festivals, and I'm sick of it happening. Insomniac. Another thing you need to get your goddamn people on. Price inconsistencies of your drink vendors. I should not be able to go to 4 different spots, or any spot for that matter, that has a listed price and pay different prices every single time for my drinks. Like, you wonder why people sneak in alcohol. I mostly buy beer when I go to these festivals. Y'all also didn't have beatbox, so I couldn't get beatboxes while I was there. So I drank beer most of the weekend, because I was not about to pay those prices for hard liquor that was barely a shot or two. I've talked about it before. Like, and when I drink, I like to drink. And I'm gonna get the most bang for my buck. Every single time I got Bud Light day one, from everywhere around the main stage to the one place over by the takeover stage, I paid different prices for my Bud Light. And I talked to multiple people who had the same experience, who's also had the same experiences at Insomniac and festivals. Your people think we're too fucked up to know that you're charging us differently, and you're abusing your customers, Insomniac. You need to get on this. That is nothing that correlates to Subtronics. Jesse, like, just letting you know, like, this happens all the time. And I'm not trying to be super negative about this, but like, we already spend enough money to come to this festival, like festivals in general, dropping money on merch, food, and other stuff while we're there. Like, we don't need to be taken advantage of like that. Like, it's not cool. Like, and that's unfortunately the thing that's happening in this community. Like, everyone thinks we're just fucked up, and you know, we're not gonna know what we're doing. We're just gonna swipe those cards and just worry about it later. Like, no, not all of us are like that. Like, thank you. Is this festival worth it? If you love Subtronics and you love bass music and the artists that are booked for this lineup, I would definitely say this festival is 100% worth it. Being that it returned for a second year, they did something right the first year, and now that they've expanded into 2 days and 2 stages, I definitely feel like this might be something reoccurring, especially because Jesse's brand has been known to like have reoccurring things happening. Like, so I feel like this might come back next year, and I hope that if it does, that these improvements are looked at. And from the price to the location to the plur vibes of the crowd, this niche festival is definitely one to check out if you're any type of bass music lover, from drum and bass to dubstep to rhythm. Like, just come experience it all, have fun, meet some amazing, interesting people, because there's definitely some very interesting people that you'll find at this festival. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Want to know when new videos are available to watch? Click the bell so my channel notifications are turned on, and you'll never miss anything I post. Bye!